My name is Thierry Vrain, Dr. Vrain. Let's see, I'm apparently a whistleblower. I used to work as a genetic engineer for the Department of Agriculture.
Okay, very good. So, I know that you used to be for this science and now you're against this science. Can you tell us the reason why you changed
Well,
your mind?
there's been a lot of studies done in the last dozen years since I retired that really I was not aware of. I wasn't aware of the studies being done at the time. So since I retired, there's a lot of studies that have been done, mostly in Europe, that really shows that there's some problems with genetic engineered grain, corn and soy. Rats fed corn and soy develop kidney damage and liver damage and cancer. And that's like, well, we use rats as canaries in the mine, you know. It's like they're telling us something. They're saying if we eat the same food, we're going to have the same symptoms.
Absolutely. Okay, so what do you think we should be doing here to get rid of this problem or to tackle this problem?
Well, I think it's going to come from the street. I think it's going to come from the people. I don't think it's going to come from the top.
Right,
I
and
I think an event like the one that we're talking about here, March Against Monsanto, is the way to go. I hope there's like millions and millions and millions of people because that talks.
So, now that we're on the topic of Monsanto, what do you think of their relationship between Monsanto and the government and the FDA?
Well, it's really not very arm's length, is it? I mean, it's obvious that the corporate people move into government positions and then go back to the corporation, and then it's like the revolving door. I mean, it's transparent. It's very obvious. It's public. It's amazing.
Yeah,
yeah, it's scary when
Yep.
the government takes over, or when corporations start taking over government or infiltrating government for to pursue their own, profit.
This is what we are discussing here. Yes.
Right. So you
I
think
think in
taking?
Europe, excuse me, I think in Europe they call it fascism.
Yeah.
yeah, we're starting to call it that here now too.
Starting.
You're laughing, right? And we're far from that here.
Dealing with the soil and the effects that the GMO crops and also the pesticides are having on the soil.
I don't really have, too much information about the effect of the technology on the biology of the soil, except I think it's pretty much, equivalent or it's the same really as industrial agriculture. I mean, it's well known that the extensive use of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides um, in industrial agriculture are basically causing a process of desertification. The biology of the soil is very affected. It's
Right.
much
So
more fluid.
the quality of the soil is going down because of the GMOs.
No more than the rest of industrial agriculture. GMOs are just an expression of industrial agriculture. I don't think there's any particular risks attributed to GMOs here
Okay,
on
but but the
on the biology of the soil.
okay, so you're
Oh.
saying the pesticide is mainly what's causing this damage to the soil?
Yes.
Right, and this pesticide, it grows ever more resistant, where they need to use more pesticide and more insecticide, right?
The plants become resistant to the herbicide.
Right.
Yes. And
So,
they themselves become weeds, or other species of weeds are becoming resistant to the herbicides as well and have become a serious problem.
so basically, it's not true that the crop yields actually increase. They actually could. could decrease because of all these pesticides in the soil, or
No,
no?
no. The yields, there's a very there is a strong message from the biotech industry that the yields have increased, and that's actually not proven true at all. The
Right,
yields,
that's
the
false. Right.
yields of corn, for example, have decreased. You can look at the data from Europe, and you can see that the Europeans have passed the American um, yields for corn over the last 10 to 15 years, and they don't use that technology.
Right. Okay, so
So
uh,
there is no increase in yield. There is no like, oh, we need that technology to feed the world.
Yeah, that's
No,
what they love to that's what they love to sell it to us here, and they tell us that, you know, thanks to these GMOs we're able to feed these millions of people, and and we're going to feed everybody in Africa. But you know, I saw this study that I think you were referencing to about the comparison between the yield here and the yield in Europe, where they don't have the GMOs, and it was actually proven that the non-GMO crops were actually performing better than the GMO crops.
yes, yes, you're correct.
Okay.
It's it seems to me the people in France, at least I know the situation, they were just from very early on had known, you know, like it's 1998. It's 2 years after the first commercialization of GMO products all over the world, and 2 years later there was a outcry in Europe that uh, engineered grain was toxic to rats. The study had just been done in Scotland, and the government and the people in Europe really took that seriously. Whereas here in North America, it was just brushed away by the biotech industry and their supporters. And they make so much noise about it that basically it's like, you know, this is not valid. Well, it is very valid in many, many countries. People are taking these studies very seriously, and they seem to accumulate. And we
right,
see and we see rats and mice, you know, fed engineered grain for months, developing organ damage and cancer and die prematurely compared to other animals that are, you know, treated, fed differently. And this applies to us. It's like this is not a conspiracy. This is not an invention. It's real.
right.
So I guess what I'm taking from what you're saying is that the recipe for success for what our mission is to use the information that we have about all these studies, but then we have to get people activated, just like they did in Europe, where the people were not going to accept it. And I guess that's what we have to do is get more and more people behind this and use the information that people like you are putting out there for us to use to get everybody on board with you know, getting rid of these pesticides and getting labels on these GMOs and dealing with the Monsanto problem.
Yes. Yes, and it is obvious to me that the biotech industry as a whole, on media, except the internet.
All
How,
right. Thank you
Awesome.
so
Well,
much.
how about
thanks
the
for
social
talking with us.